It's Tuesday, June 30th, 2020. Welcome to the Day Weather Podcast. Well, it is going to be really cool today for some of you. Most of you watching and listening to this podcast are going to feel, it's going to feel more like late May, not late June out there. Now, it's going to be very cool in some areas today. Many areas will not hit 70. Some will, but it looks like cool air will dominate. Showers and thunderstorms will be possible in a few spots. Now, temperatures are going to rebound beginning tomorrow. And then warmer temperatures for Thursday through the 4th of July weekend. I think we've got a decent 4th of July weekend coming up. It's going to be warm. We're going to have some of your typical late day thunderstorms popping up over the weekend. But unlike last weekend where we had a lot of wind in some areas, it won't be as windy. It's going to be warm. And I think we've got a good weekend coming on up. The monsoon, the North American monsoon, that moisture that comes up out of the southwestern United States and Mexico and Central America. We talked in an earlier podcast that we thought it was going to be a weak monsoon and start late. We still think that, but we do see some signs of it getting going around or after July 10th. We'll show you that in a little more detail. This is where we are today with the upper level jet stream pattern. This area in the circle here is where it's going to be really cool today. Notice the big dip in the jet stream. Now, this is something you'd see in the winter and the spring, but this is just an incredible big dip of the jet stream with the ridge in the eastern Pacific driving air. Look at this. The air coming into our part of the country, folks, is coming from the Aleutians. So we're talking about some really bona fide cool air for this time of year. On the other side of the trough, well, it's hot. So huge contrast coming through this area right here today. However, as we look at temperatures and conditions, those will be changing for the better, but we've got to get through today. These are the forecasted high temperatures relative to average. Blue and green and purple show below average temperatures, with the purple being the coldest. So you can see, other than along and south of I-70 here, everybody else is really cold. Temperatures as much as 20 to nearly 30 degrees below average in southwestern Wyoming, northeastern Utah, and eastern Idaho. Also, there's going to be some shower and thunderstorm activity today in areas they need it, especially up into this area today. But once we get beyond today, we're going to see a warm-up. Here's the forecasted rain chances. This is through Friday afternoon. You can see it's the northern areas closer to the track of that trough that have the heaviest precipitation over the next 3.5 days. Some scattered showers and thunderstorms will be forming elsewhere over the next 2 or 3 days in this area here, but it's going to be really spotty. So this part of the country right here really needs the rain, and they'll get a little bit more. We're still looking at this hole in this part of Wyoming here, especially around the Casper area, that continues to suffer. These are temperatures by Thursday. Notice the rebound. A big jump in temperatures with the cold air headed east. High pressure builds back in. Desert air gets channeled back in. So instead of air coming from the Aleutians, like today, the air comes from Arizona by the end of the week and the weekend. It's like weather whiplash, kind of what we're going through. Really, we've had this happen several times in the month of June. These big swings. By Friday, this is the upper level jet stream pattern. We have that trough receding northward. A big area of high pressure covers a lot of the country centered here. And we'll start to see that flow of air come back up from the desert state. So that's going to warm us up for the 4th of July weekend. 10 days out, high pressure settles over northern areas of New Mexico. Now, I want to show you the upper level wind pattern. It comes across Mexico, comes across the Baja, and turns. What's going to happen around and after this July 10th time frame is subtropical moisture, which is increasing from Mexico and Central America, is going to start to come up to the north and go around this high. What's been happening this past several weeks is that when this flow of moisture starts to come towards North America, these Pacific troughs come in and literally just take the top off the monsoon moisture flow and shunt it. So every time the monsoon tries to get started, the Pacific says, no, you don't, cuts it off, and we have a monsoon that just can't get started yet. Usually by June, southern Arizona, parts of southern California's deserts, southern New Mexico are well into that monsoon season. as we get after that July 10th time frame, what I'm showing you here is a computer model that is showing the flow of moisture. You see this arch coming in from the southwest and heading northeast? This is what we typically get when the monsoon gets started. High pressure over the southern plains. The clockwise flow helps draw that moisture out of Central America and Old Mexico and push it into the southwestern United States. So this is good news maybe for south central and southwest areas of Colorado, this Four Corners region here that's really, really dry. We do see that getting going. Now this is a double-edged sword because you tend to get dry lightning at first, and so that is always a fire starter, or can be. But right around July 10th and afterwards, if the pattern holds like we think it will, we'll start to see that monsoon moisture flow get started and get developed, and you can see it'll extend all the way into here as we get into that time frame. This is what basically happens with the monsoon moisture flow. As the summer heats up, as the deserts of Arizona and California, Nevada and Utah and the New Mexico deserts and the deserts of Mexico, as it gets really hot, the hot temperatures make a natural area of low pressure. Since warm air is less dense, the air mass has less density and therefore less pressure. And that causes the natural flow of air from high pressure to low pressure to develop. So that natural flow, due to the changing temperatures, then the changing pressure conditions, draws that moisture northward. And as I mentioned earlier, every time that flow starts, the jet stream comes in from the Pacific and cuts it off. So what we need is that jet stream to go up here more, and we think it will. And this is allowing that monsoon moisture to start developing and get going around or after July 10th. So we'll keep you updated on that in the next week or so ahead. Thanks for listening and watching the Day Weather Podcast. We'll see you on the first day of July tomorrow.